Have you ever encountered someone who steps into a room and without saying a word, the entire atmosphere shifts? It's not because they're loud. It's not because they demand attention. It's something deeper, something steady, something grounded, something that makes you lean in and think, I'd follow that person anywhere. Now here's the surprising part. That kind of leadership, it's not about a job title. It's not charisma. And it's definitely not something you're born with. It's something you cultivate. Hey everyone, I'm Bix, and welcome to Bix Book Summary, where we don't just break down books, we uncover the truths that have the power to transform the way you think, live, and lead. And today we're diving into the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. Now this isn't just another leadership book crammed with buzzwords and cliches. This is a blueprint, a wake-up call for anyone who's ready to step up and live with more influence, more clarity, and more purpose. Maxwell has spent decades studying what makes people great leaders. He's worked with presidents, CEOs, military leaders, pastors, you name it. And his conclusion is crystal clear. Everything rises and falls on leadership. But let me clarify something here. In this context, leadership isn't just about leading others. It's about leading yourself. It's about your choices, your integrity, your vision, your impact. So in this summary, we're not just going to walk through the 21 laws like a checklist. Instead, we're going to look at each law as an invitation to step into the kind of person you're meant to be, an invitation to align your actions with your values so deeply that people are drawn to you, not because you're the loudest in the room, but because your presence speaks louder than words. Whether you're managing a team, raising a child, running a business, or just trying to create a life that actually means something, this is for you. Because leadership isn't about being above anyone. It's about going first. It's about showing up consistently, even when it's uncomfortable. It's about embodying the values you wish to see in others. So, if you're ready, let's dive in and uncover what real leadership is all about. This is the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Let's begin. Imagine this. You've got the drive. You're fueled by vision. You're overflowing with passion, discipline, and maybe even a solid work ethic. You're armed with the right tools and you're putting in the work. But despite all that, your results keep falling short of your potential. Your growth feels capped. Your team isn't thriving. Your dreams stall out halfway and you can't quite put your finger on why. John C. Maxwell offers a profound explanation for this frustrating experience, and it's something that might not be obvious, but you'll feel it everywhere. It's called the law of the lid. Now, this idea is deceptively simple yet incredibly powerful. Your leadership ability is the lid on your effectiveness. Think of it this way. No matter how talented you are, no matter how driven, if your leadership capacity is low, your impact will always be limited, period. Maxwell uses a powerful metaphor to drive this home. Imagine your leadership level is a 4, but your ambition and skill set are at a 7. No matter how hard you push, your success will never rise above that 4. It's like hitting an invisible ceiling over and over again, unable to break through. Your potential keeps getting shoved back down to match your current level of influence, clarity, and self-leadership. And here's the kicker, the part that stings the most. Most people think leadership is about other people. They think it's about telling others what to do, making the big decisions, and holding power over a group. But Maxwell says the real secret? Leadership starts with you. It's about your mindset, your discipline, your willingness to look in the mirror and take responsibility for your own growth. Because leadership isn't about control, it's about influence. And influence isn't a gift. It's earned, moment by moment, through how you show up, especially when no one's watching. So, how do you raise the lid? You start by telling yourself the truth. You ask yourself some uncomfortable but necessary questions. Where am I coasting on talent instead of actively growing? What parts of me are still leading from fear, ego, or insecurity? Who suffers when I settle for mediocre leadership? And then, step by step, you begin to expand. You study, you practice, you fail forward. You learn to lead yourself with integrity so that others can trust you to lead them. Because the truth is, people don't follow titles. They follow character. They follow alignment. They follow people who live what they preach, even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, And here's the thing. This law is the foundation. Every other leadership principle in Maxwell's book stacks on top of it. If you ignore it, you end up building a beautiful life on a cracked ceiling. And one day, you're going to hit it. So if you want to elevate your influence, your business, your impact, your family's future, you have to elevate yourself. Expand your capacity. Lift that lid. Next, we're stepping into the second law, the law of influence. We're about to uncover why real leadership isn't about position, it's about permission. Stay with me. Leadership. Say that word out loud, and what do you picture? Most people envision someone at the front of a room. A CEO commanding attention in a boardroom. A coach barking orders on the sidelines. A manager with a corner office and a shiny nameplate that reads, "In charge." But John Maxwell wants us to erase that image. Strip away the titles, the status, the external markers of power. Because in this second law, he hits us with a truth that changes everything. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. It's not a title, it's not a paycheck. It's not the number of people under your management or the authority your job description hands you. It's the ability to move people, not through force or control, but through alignment, through trust, through respect, through the kind of presence that speaks louder than words. This is the law of influence, and it explains why some people with zero official power can walk into a room and shift the entire atmosphere, and why others, with titles, with status, with a corner office, can't get anyone to genuinely follow them. Because true leadership isn't handed out by a system. It's earned through character, through who you are when no one's keeping score. And here's the thing. Influence doesn't come from being the smartest, the loudest, or the most dominant. It comes from being the most grounded, the most consistent, the most trustworthy, the one who listens fully, speaks clearly, and lives honestly. Maxwell illustrates this with the story of Mother Teresa, a frail woman, no official title, no army, no wealth. And yet she moved presidents, governments, and entire generations. Why? Because her influence wasn't in her voice. It was in her conviction, in her unwavering clarity, in the way she showed up every single day, living out what she believed. That's the kind of influence that transcends titles. That's real leadership. And the flip side? Think of a boss who no one respects, a teacher who can't keep the room engaged, a manager everyone avoids, even though they're technically in charge. That's someone with a position, but no influence. Someone who might be obeyed but never truly followed. This law asks you to pause and take inventory. Who trusts you when things get tough? Who listens when you speak? Not because they have to, but because they genuinely respect what you have to say. Where are you confusing authority with real impact? Because influence isn't about telling people what to do. It's about living in a way that inspires them to follow your lead. It's about being so aligned with your own values that others can feel it when you walk into the room. It's about showing up as someone people want to listen to, not because they're obligated to, but because they're drawn to your clarity and conviction. And that's the challenge. To stop performing leadership and start embodying it. To shift from trying to manage people to inspiring them. To become the kind of person who doesn't just hold a title, but who holds space for others to thrive. Ahead, we're stepping into the third law, the law of process. And this one, it's a game changer. Because leadership isn't something you master in a weekend workshop, it's something you become step by step, day by day, decision by decision. Stay with me. There's a dangerous message floating around right now. We're being told that growth should be instant, that leadership can be hacked, that all you need is a seminar, a few inspirational quotes, or a weekend of podcast binging, and suddenly you're a leader. But John Maxwell wants us to stop and rethink that. Because the third law, the law of process, pulls us back to reality. It reminds us that leadership isn't a single moment of breakthrough. It's not a lightning bolt of clarity or a title handed to you one day. It's a lifetime of becoming. Leadership develops daily, not in a day. Think about that. You don't become a leader when you get the promotion, or when you read the book, or when someone calls you a boss. You become a leader in the small, unglamorous, everyday moments. It's in the moments when no one is watching, but you still choose to live by your values. It's in the moments when you hold yourself accountable to your own standards, even when it's uncomfortable. It's in the moments when you show up for the tough stuff, not for the applause, but because it's the right thing to do. Maxwell draws a powerful analogy here. Think of fitness. You can't go to the gym once and expect a transformation. You don't do a single workout and wake up ripped. No, you go again, and again, and again. The change shows up slowly. First in your mind, then in your posture, then in your power. Leadership is just like that. You learn how to listen better, how to regulate your emotions, how to step up and take responsibility when it would be easier to point fingers. You learn how to remain steady through chaos, how to uplift others even when you feel empty, how to hold your ground without losing your cool. And that kind of growth, it takes time. It's not about the big wins, it's about the daily reps. Maxwell says that those people who look like natural leaders, they're not born that way. They're just the ones who have been putting in the work longer. They've been committed to growth when no one was watching. They've failed, learned, adjusted, and kept going. And that's the invitation of the law of process. It's a call to let go of the pressure to arrive at leadership. To stop measuring your impact by how many people are following you and start measuring it by how much integrity you lead yourself with every single day. Because the process is the point. It's in the daily stretch. The quiet discipline, the private decisions that shape the kind of leader you're becoming in public. So pause for a second. Ask yourself, what's one thing I'm doing today? Not for applause, not for recognition, but simply because I know it's shaping who I'm becoming. That's the process. And over time, that process will turn you into the kind of leader people trust, follow, and believe in. Not because you demanded it, but because you lived it. Next, we're diving into the fourth law, the law of navigation. And in this one, we're going to see why great leaders don't just inspire people to move, they chart the course, even when the path ahead is unclear. Stay with me. You've probably met someone who can paint a picture so vividly that it makes you believe in the impossible. They speak with passion. Their words light up a room. They make people feel something deep in their bones. But when it's time to take that next step, to move from inspiration to execution, from dream to plan, they freeze. They had the vision, but they couldn't navigate the path. And that's where the law of navigation steps in. John Maxwell teaches us that anyone can steer a ship when the water is calm. When the sky is clear and the waves are gentle, it's easy to feel like a leader. But real leadership isn't proven in the calm. It's proven in the storm, in the detours, in the unexpected, in the moments when the path forward is foggy and everyone is looking to you to make the call. Because real leaders don't just ignite hope, they chart the course. They don't just paint a picture of the destination. They anticipate the obstacles. They think 5 steps ahead, not because they're control freaks or micromanagers, but because they care enough to prepare. And this is what separates navigators from dreamers. Dreamers react. Navigators pre-act. Dreamers ask, what's the goal? Navigators ask, what could go wrong on the way there, and how do we lead through it? Maxwell talks about something he calls preparation thinking. It's what great leaders do before the project, before the launch, before the big decision. They pause. They map it out. They gather insight, ask for wisdom, run through scenarios, and only then they move. Deliberate, focused, clear. But here's the truth. This doesn't mean they have all the answers. It means they own the responsibility of guiding others through uncertainty. It means they don't just get hyped about the end goal. They take accountability for every step of the journey. That's navigation, and it's what makes people feel safe with you. It's what builds trust. It's what makes people want to follow you, even when the path isn't clear, even when the storm hits. Because when people know you've thought it through, when they see that you've taken the time to anticipate what could go wrong, that you're prepared to face it, they'll walk with you through the chaos. So ask yourself right now, where in your life are you dreaming, but not planning? Where are you hoping for the best, but not preparing for the tough parts? What would shift if you slowed down and mapped out the terrain before taking the first step? Because the world is full of dreamers. But what it needs, what it desperately needs, is navigators. People who can see clearly, plan wisely, and lead steadily through the unknown. And as we move forward, we're stepping into one of the hardest truths in leadership. People buy into the leader before they buy into the vision. It's not just what you say, it's who you are. Stay with me. You could have the most brilliant strategy in the world, a vision so vivid it burns in your chest. You could have every detail planned out to perfection, every step mapped with precision. But here's the truth. If the people you're leading don't believe in you, none of it matters. That's the essence of the law of buy-in. John Maxwell lays it down with striking clarity. People buy into the leader first, and only then do they buy into the vision. Think about it. People don't follow plans. They follow people. They don't look at a strategy and ask, is this idea smart? They look at the person behind it and ask, do I trust them? Do I believe in them? And trust, it's not built through eloquent speeches or flashy presentations. It's built in the moments that aren't scripted. It's built when things go wrong and you step up to take responsibility. It's built in how you treat people when they have nothing to offer you. It's built in the way you lead when no one is watching, when the cameras are off, when the stakes are high. Maxwell reminds us that a vision can't carry you if it's not anchored in character. You can't ask people to buy into a dream if you haven't earned their respect. And you can't inspire others to go all in if you haven't gone all in on yourself first. This law isn't just about getting people to support your ideas. It's about taking a hard look in the mirror and asking yourself, am I the kind of person people can believe in? Because people aren't just listening to your words, they're watching your life. They're paying attention to how you handle conflict, how you navigate setbacks, how you own your mistakes. They're sensing your alignment. They're feeling your energy. They're looking for consistency between what you say and what you do. And when they see that you are the message, that you're not just saying it but living it, they lean in. They say, I'll follow you, not because it's easy, but because I trust you'll walk through it too. Buy-in isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about showing up honestly, even when things are messy. It's about being so rooted in your integrity that people feel safe enough to believe in you, even when the road gets tough. So, pause for a moment and ask yourself, not just as a leader, but as a human being, am I asking people to believe in something I haven't fully embodied myself? What would change if I stopped pushing the vision and started focusing on building the relationship? Because when people believe in you, the vision becomes more than just words. It becomes a shared purpose, a collective mission, a journey people are willing to take with you. But when they don't, no matter how brilliant the plan, no matter how compelling the dream, it never truly lands. Up next, we're stepping into the law of solid ground. This one cuts deep because it's about the very foundation every leader stands on, whether they realize it or not. Stay with me. Leadership doesn't rest on talent. It doesn't rest on intelligence or charisma. It rests on something far quieter, something less visible, something you might not notice until it's gone. Trust. The law of solid ground states it plainly. Trust is the foundation of leadership. You can be brilliant, you can be driven, you can have every answer in the book. But if people don't trust you, you're already losing them. You're already sinking, no matter how dazzling your strategy might be. Maxwell doesn't sugarcoat it. When trust is high, everything flows. Communication is easy. Decisions happen faster. People lean in with open minds and open hearts. But when trust is low, every step is heavy. Every conversation is second-guessed. Every move you make is filtered through suspicion and doubt. And here's the part that stings. Trust isn't handed to you just because you're in charge. It's earned, one choice at a time. One small moment at a time. And most often, in the quiet moments when no one's keeping score. Maxwell tells us that trust is built through consistency, through doing what you said you'd do, even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, through owning your mistakes instead of hiding behind your title or authority, through telling the truth, not the easy truth, but the real one, even when it costs you. And maybe most importantly, it's built by being the same person when the spotlight is on and when it's not. People don't just hear what you say. They remember how you handled the tough stuff. They remember how you treated them when they were down, when they were vulnerable, when they had nothing to give you in return. They remember whether you chose truth over convenience, integrity over image. Because in leadership, you are the ground they're walking on. And when that ground starts to crack, when people feel they can't rely on you, can't trust your word, they pull back. They stop risking, they stop leaning in, they start to doubt every word you say. Maxwell puts it like this: you can lose money and recover, You can lose momentum and bounce back. But if you lose trust, everything slows down. So this law invites you to pause and ask yourself, what kind of ground am I providing for the people around me? Is it solid? Do they feel safe standing on it? Or are there quiet cracks I've been avoiding? Because trust doesn't just make you a better leader, it makes you someone people can believe in, even when everything else feels shaky. Next, we're stepping into the law of respect. And in this one, we'll uncover why people naturally follow leaders who live their values, not just talk about them. Stay with me. There's a certain kind of person you don't question. You don't second-guess their decisions. You don't roll your eyes behind their back. You don't follow them because you have to. You follow them because something in you feels drawn to them. Something in you trusts them. John Maxwell tells us that this isn't by chance. It's the law of respect. People naturally follow leaders who are stronger than themselves. But here's the twist. Strength in this context isn't about power or control. It's not about being the loudest voice in the room. It's not about ego or intimidation. It's about integrity. It's about consistency. It's about having the kind of quiet courage that makes people feel safe in your presence. Maxwell makes it clear, people are always watching. Not in a suspicious or paranoid way, but in a deeply human way. They're observing how you speak when no one's around, how you handle pressure when the stakes are high, whether you keep your word even when it's inconvenient, whether you actually live the principles you preach. And over time, they decide, is this someone I can trust? Not because you're perfect, not because you're flawless, but because you're solid, because you don't fold under pressure, because you keep your promises, because you walk the talk even when it costs you. Maxwell points out that people don't buy into a vision if they don't respect the voice behind it. They won't go the extra mile for a leader who cuts corners. And they certainly won't sacrifice for someone who is more concerned with their own image than the well-being of the people they lead. Respect can't be demanded. It can't be commanded. It has to be earned. And here's the thing, when you live with integrity, the pull is magnetic. People are drawn to clarity. They're drawn to authenticity. They're drawn to those who stay aligned with their values, even when it's uncomfortable. So the real question isn't, how do I get people to respect me? The question is, am I living in a way that deserves their respect? Am I consistent in my values even when no one's looking? Do I make the tough call because it's right, not because it's popular? Am I the kind of person I'd want to follow? Because leadership isn't about being liked. It's about being trusted. It's about being respected. And when people respect you, they'll stand with you in the storm. They'll believe in your vision even when the path is uncertain. They'll give you their effort, their loyalty, their belief. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. Up next, we're stepping into the law of intuition. And this one's powerful. Because great leaders don't just rely on data or logic. They sense the room. They feel the timing. They read the temperature. They act from a place of inner clarity. Stay with me. Some people just know. They walk into a room and feel the tension no one's talking about. They hear what's not being said. They sense a shift before it even shows up on a spreadsheet or in a report. It's not luck. It's not guesswork. It's leadership intuition. And that's exactly what John Maxwell calls the law of intuition. Because real leaders don't just lead with their minds, they lead with all of themselves. They lead with their logic, their heart, their gut. They pay attention to the undercurrents most people miss. They're the ones who can read the room, not just command it. Maxwell is clear about this. Intuition isn't just some magical gift you're born with. It's a skill. It's developed through experience, yes. But more importantly, it's cultivated through presence, through paying attention, through being fully awake to what's happening beneath the surface. Great leaders know when morale is dipping, even when no one's openly complaining. They sense when momentum is building or slipping, long before the numbers reflect it. They don't need a detailed analysis to know when something's off. They can feel it, because intuition is what guides them when the path forward isn't obvious, when the data is incomplete, when the decision can't wait for a perfectly calculated answer. It's what helps them navigate the gray areas, the moments when logic alone can't capture the full picture. Maxwell emphasizes that this isn't about being emotional. It's about being attuned to people, to timing, to energy, to what the team needs, not just what the plan says. And often, your gut will speak before your mind catches up. It'll nudge you. It'll pull you. It'll whisper, something's not right, or this is the moment. And if you've been developing your leadership through consistency, through character, through humility, you'll learn to trust that voice. That quiet, persistent knowing becomes a compass. And the more you lean into it, the sharper it gets, the more accurate it becomes. This law isn't about mysticism. It's about heightened awareness. It's about leading with all your senses engaged, not just your systems in place. It's about being so connected to the pulse of what's happening that you can feel the undercurrent, even when no one's saying a word. So take a moment, ask yourself, where am I ignoring my instincts because I'm afraid of being wrong? What would change if I started trusting my inner knowing instead of silencing it? Because data gives you insight, but intuition gives you timing. And in leadership, timing is everything. It's the difference between making a move and missing the moment. Next, we're moving into the law of magnetism. And this one's powerful because who you are attracts who you lead. Your energy, your values, your habits. They don't just shape your life, they shape your entire team. Stay with me. We all dream of leading great people. The kind of people who are driven, focused, honest, loyal, and creative. We imagine building a team that rises with us, that carries the vision like it's their own, that fights for the mission even when the road gets tough. But John Maxwell brings us face to face with a sobering truth. Who you are is who you attract. That's the law of magnetism. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. If you're negative, you'll draw complainers. If you're inconsistent, you'll attract people who quit at the first sign of resistance. If you're driven by ego, you'll find yourself surrounded by people who are only out for themselves. But if you lead with character, you attract people with integrity. If you value growth, you pull in learners. If you model service, humility, and presence, you'll start to notice that the people around you mirror that back to you. Maxwell reminds us that this law is at work whether you're aware of it or not. Your energy is always sending out a signal, and people are reading you even when you're not speaking, even when you think no one's watching. That's why leadership isn't just about the strategy, it's about your state. It's about who you are when the cameras are off. It's about your habits, your rhythm, the way you handle pressure, the way you respond to setbacks. It's about what you do when no one's clapping and there's no recognition in sight. So if you don't like what's showing up around you, don't point fingers. Look within. Not to beat yourself up, but to recalibrate. Because when you raise your standard for yourself, you automatically raise the standard for those around you. And slowly, the wrong energy can't stay. The right people start to find their way to you. Not because you begged them to, but because you became someone they wanted to follow. This law is both confronting and empowering. It's confronting because it forces you to take responsibility for what you're attracting. It's empowering because it reminds you that you're not just building a team, you're shaping it through who you choose to be every single day. So, take a moment and ask yourself, what kind of leader am I becoming? Not in my vision board, not in my goals, but in the way I speak, the way I respond to criticism, the way I handle pressure. Because your leadership isn't just pulling people towards something, it's holding up a mirror. And the reflection staring back, that's the real magnet. Up next, we're diving into the law of connection. And in this one, we're going to explore why the heart of leadership isn't about being above people. It's about being with them. Stay close. You can have the clearest vision. You can cast the boldest dream. You can stand at the front of the room and speak with passion and conviction. But if the people you're speaking to don't feel seen by you, if they don't feel like you genuinely understand them, like you care about them as people, like they matter beyond the role they play, they won't follow you far. Because leadership isn't a transaction. It's a relationship. That's the essence of the law of connection. John Maxwell puts it simply. Leaders touch a heart before they ask for a hand. Before you ask someone to move, to build, to sacrifice, to commit, you have to reach them where they are. You have to connect. Because people don't give their best to someone who stays distant. They don't go all in for a leader who only shows up when it's time to push the mission forward. They give their best to someone who's with them, someone who genuinely sees them, someone who listens even when there's no immediate goal to hit. And that's the key. Connection isn't built in the spotlight. It's built in the spaces in between, in the quiet check-ins, in the honest conversations, in the small gestures that say, you matter, not just for what you do, but for who you are. Maxwell makes it clear. Great leaders don't just talk at people. They speak to them with care, with clarity, with intention. They don't just assume they're understood. They go slow enough to make sure they're actually heard. And here's the thing. Connection isn't about charisma. It's not about being the most captivating speaker in the room. It's about being present. It's about showing up, not just when the stakes are high, but when there's nothing to gain. It's about making someone feel valued, even when the world isn't watching. You don't have to have the perfect words. You don't have to be the most charming person in the room. You just have to be real, authentic. There. People feel that. They trust that. And when they trust you, they open up, they engage, they go further than they would have on their own. Because now, they're not just following your ideas, they're walking with you. They're invested. They're in it, not just for the mission, but for you. So pause and ask yourself, am I leading from a distance or from presence? Do the people I lead feel connected to me or just obligated to me? What would it look like to slow down enough to really see them? Because when people feel seen, they give their best. When they don't, they hold back. Not out of spite, but out of self-protection. And in the end, it's not just your vision that gets lost. It's the bond that makes the vision possible. Up next, we're stepping into the law of the inner circle. This one's a game changer because it's not just about your leadership. It's about who you surround yourself with and how the people closest to you can either lift you higher or hold you back. Stay with me. We live in a world that glorifies the lone wolf, the solo climb to the top, the self-made genius, the leader who has all the answers and needs no one. But John Maxwell pulls us back to reality with a truth that dismantles that image. Your level of success is determined by those closest to you. That's the law of the inner circle. No matter how strong, how smart, how driven you are, your reach, your impact, your growth will always be shaped by the people closest to you. Maxwell puts it simply, a leader's potential is determined by those closest to him. And if you pause for a moment, you already know this is true. You've felt it. The difference between being surrounded by people who drain you and people who sharpen you. People who doubt your vision and people who protect it like it's their own. People who play small and pull you back, and people who stretch you, call you higher, remind you of who you are when you forget. Your inner circle is either expanding your leadership or quietly limiting it. And here's the part that most people miss. It's not just about surrounding yourself with nice people. It's about surrounding yourself with strong, aligned, anchored people. People who aren't afraid to challenge you. People who don't just talk about values, they live them. People who model what you're trying to build, not just talk about it. Maxwell tells us that your team becomes your mirror. Their strengths lift you. Their character reflects yours. And their weaknesses? They become your blind spots. You rise or fall to the level of those around you. So this law isn't just about the company you keep. It's about the influence you allow. It's about the voices you listen to when you're uncertain, the people you vent to when you're frustrated, the energy you absorb when you're around them. Because leadership isn't just about leading others, it's about being led by the environment you create around yourself. So take a hard look around. Who am I allowing close? Not just physically, but in influence. Who am I letting speak into my life? Who am I becoming when I spend time with these people? Because you can't rise to the next level of leadership with an inner circle built for the last version of you. If you want to grow, you have to surround yourself with people who are growing. If you want to lead with integrity, you need people who hold you accountable, who don't just let you slide. So ask yourself, who do I need to draw closer? And who have I outgrown, but haven't yet let go? Because in the end, it's not just about reaching the top, it's about who you're taking with you. And if you're serious about that next level, you can't bring everyone along. Up next, we're stepping into the law of empowerment. This one flips the script on control and reveals why great leaders don't hoard power. they give it away. Stay close. There's a kind of leadership that appears strong on the surface, confident, decisive, always in control. But underneath that polished exterior, it's tight-fisted, afraid, controlling, always needing to be the smartest in the room, the most needed, the most right. But John Maxwell shows us a different kind of leadership, one that isn't afraid to loosen its grip, one that understands this fundamental truth. Only secure leaders give power to others. This is the law of empowerment. Because real leadership isn't about how much control you can keep. It's about how much growth you can give away. It's not about holding the reins tighter. It's about opening your hands and letting others step up, take risks, and discover their own strength. Insecure leaders? They micromanage. They guard their titles. They keep people small, whether they realize it or not, because they fear being outshined. They see every rising star as a potential threat, every new idea as a challenge to their authority. But secure leaders? They're different. They create space. They build others up. They don't compete with the talent around them. They cultivate it. Maxwell tells us, if someone on your team shows the potential to lead, let them. Don't just delegate tasks. Entrust ownership. Let people rise. Let them fail. Let them learn, even if their way looks different than yours. That's true empowerment. And it requires more than just giving someone a project or a role. It requires you to drop the ego, to let go of control, to believe that leadership isn't about being the hero. It's about creating more heroes. When you empower people, you multiply impact. You create leaders who can think, act, and carry the mission forward without needing you to micromanage every step. You build a team that can thrive whether you're in the room or not. And here's the part Maxwell emphasizes. People grow the most when they're trusted, when they're given real responsibility, when they know their voice matters, when they're not just included, but believed in. So ask yourself, what kind of leader am I? Am I leading from fear or from freedom? Do I see people for who they are now, or for who they could become if I stepped back? Because leadership isn't about rising higher, it's about lifting others. And in the end, your legacy won't be defined by how much you controlled. It'll be defined by how many people you gave permission to rise. Next up, we're diving into the law of the picture. This one's a powerful reminder that the most impactful message you'll ever lead with isn't your words, it's how you live. Stay with me. There's a moment in every leader's journey when words stop working, when the speeches don't land, when motivation isn't enough. And in that moment, people stop listening to what you say, and they start watching how you live. That's the essence of the law of the picture. People do what people see. You can cast the most compelling vision, you can say all the right things, you can inspire, teach, correct, challenge. But if your actions don't align with your words, your influence starts to crumble. Slowly, quietly. Your people won't call you out. They won't confront you. But they'll pull back. They'll hesitate. They'll stop trusting what they hear because it doesn't match what they see. Maxwell lays it out plainly. The most powerful leadership tool you have isn't your words. It's your example. It's how you show up on the days when it's hard. It's how you speak to the person who has nothing to offer you. It's how you own your mistakes without shifting blame. It's whether you display the same values in private that you preach in public. Because when people see alignment, they feel safe. They feel led. They feel clear about the standard. Not because you told them, but because you modeled it. And that's the thing about culture. It's not built by policies. It's built by behavior. And as a leader, you are the culture, whether you intend to be or not. You set the tone by how you walk into a room, by how you handle stress, by how you treat the people others overlook, by what you tolerate and what you don't. Your actions paint a picture. And your people? They're following the brushstrokes. They're looking for consistency, for alignment, for proof that what you say isn't just talk, it's the way you live every day. So pause and ask yourself, am I leading with my mouth or with my presence? Am I saying the right things, but living differently? What picture am I painting for my team? Not just in the big moments, but in the everyday ones. Because leadership isn't a speech you give once. It's a picture you paint over and over again. And the truth is, people don't follow words. They follow the life behind them. Next, we're stepping into the law of buy-in. And in this one, we're going to uncover why people won't commit to your vision until they've committed to you. Stay close. You can have the most compelling idea in the world, a mission that stirs the soul, a plan that's flawless, a dream so vivid it gives people chills. But if the people around you don't believe in you, none of it moves forward. John Maxwell calls this the law of buy-in. And it's the line that separates leaders who talk about change from those who actually make it happen. People buy into the leader before they buy into the vision. It's always personal before it's professional. Because when people follow a vision without trusting the one behind it, they hesitate. They keep one foot out the door. They protect themselves, holding back just enough. Because deep down, they're not sure if you'll still be standing when things get hard. They're not sure if you're in it for them or just in it for yourself. But when they believe in you, they lean in. They follow the vision through storms and setbacks. They stretch themselves, not because the dream is easy, but because the person leading it is real. Because they know you'll be there with them, side by side, carrying the weight when things get heavy. Maxwell reminds us, buy-in isn't earned with hype. It's earned with consistency, with humility, with time. It's how you carry yourself when no one's watching. It's how you treat people who can't do anything for you. It's whether your values stand firm when pressure rises or collapse the second things get uncomfortable. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be genuine. Because people aren't looking for flawless leaders. They're looking for leaders they can trust. Leaders who don't just talk the talk, but live it, day in and day out. And when that trust is there, you don't have to pull people toward the vision. They lean in on their own. They take ownership. They go above and beyond, not because you ask them to, but because they want to. Because they believe in you, and that belief spills over into the mission. So this law asks you to pause and reflect. Am I spending more time polishing the vision than building the relationship? Do the people around me feel connected to the mission, or just connected to me? Am I leading with strategy or with heart? Because when people believe in you, they carry the mission like it's theirs. They invest. They go all in. Not because you demanded it, but because they believe you're worth betting on. Up next, we're stepping into the law of victory. And this one's powerful, because great leaders don't just hope for wins. They refuse to lose. And they bring others along with them, no matter how tough the road gets. Stay close. There's something different about great leaders. Something you can't always name right away. But when things get tough, really tough, you start to see it. They don't panic. They don't vanish. They dig in. John Maxwell calls it the law of victory, and it's rooted in a simple, powerful truth. Leaders find a way for the team to win. Not just when the plan is smooth, not just when the resources are plenty, not just when everyone's on board, but when everything falls apart. When the momentum stalls. When the odds are stacked against them and the way forward is blurry. For a real leader, victory isn't just a goal, it's a commitment. It's a mindset that says, we will find a way, or we will make one. Maxwell shows us that great leaders don't let failure define the outcome. They adapt, they pivot, they listen. They stay longer in the discomfort than others are willing to, and they never let their people forget why they started. This law isn't about guaranteeing success every time. It's about refusing to surrender when things get messy. It's about holding the line when others are ready to bail. It's about showing up when it's easier to disappear. Because victory isn't just about winning, it's about who you become in the process of refusing to give up. It's about pushing through, not just for the end result, but for the strength you build along the way. And here's the key. Victory is a team effort. True leaders don't try to win alone. They don't climb the mountain solo and wave from the top. They take people with them. They lift. They empower. They create a culture that says, we're in this together and we're not leaving anyone behind. So ask yourself, when things get heavy, do I get louder or do I get stronger? Do I look for the exit or do I lean further into the mission? Do I rally my team toward victory or wait for someone else to figure it out? Because when the pressure comes, and it always will, it won't be your plan that saves you. It will be your resolve. Next up, we're diving into the law of the Big Mo. And this one's crucial, because in leadership, Momentum is your best friend. We're going to talk about how to build it, sustain it, and leverage it long before you need it. Stay with me. Momentum. You can feel it when it's there. The air is electric. Energy is high. Ideas flow effortlessly. People are engaged and excited. Small wins start to stack up, turning into big victories. You don't have to push as hard, because now the movement is carrying you forward. But when it's gone, everything feels heavier. Meetings drag. Conversations lose their spark. Enthusiasm fades. The same effort produces half the result. Every step forward feels like you're pulling a weight uphill. That's why John Maxwell calls it the law of the big mo. Momentum is a leader's best friend. When you have it, everything accelerates. People believe faster, problems seem smaller, the culture feels lighter, success becomes contagious. But here's the thing. Momentum doesn't just show up. It has to be created, and once you have it, it has to be protected. Maxwell says, momentum is the great exaggerator. When you have it, people think you're better than you actually are. When you lose it, they question everything, even things that used to work. That's why great leaders don't wait for momentum to magically appear. They build it, one small win at a time, one solved problem, one delivered promise, one completed task. You don't need a massive breakthrough to start momentum. You need movement, a clear step forward, a small success, a sign that things are working, that progress is happening, that the effort is paying off. And once that wheel starts turning, you don't let it slow down. You keep it alive through rhythm, not random hustle. It's the consistency of showing up, of stacking wins, of maintaining clarity and direction. But here's the hard truth. Momentum is fragile. It can be broken by negativity. It can be killed by lack of clarity. It can be stalled by inconsistency. And once you lose it, it takes twice the effort to get it going again. That's why protecting momentum is as crucial as creating it. You guard it fiercely. You cut out distractions. You stay laser-focused on the things that fuel forward motion. So ask yourself, what am I doing right now to create motion in my life, my team, my mission? What small wins am I stacking to build belief? What habits, energy, or decisions are either fueling that forward motion or quietly dragging it down? Because when momentum is on your side, people rise higher than they thought they could. They believe faster, move quicker, push further. And when it's not, you're pulling dead weight every single day. Next, we're stepping into the law of priorities. And in this one, we're going to see why great leaders don't just do more. They do what matters most. Stay with me. Busyness is easy. Anyone can fill their day with activity. Checking boxes, answering emails, sitting through meetings that lead nowhere. You can be in constant motion from morning to night and still go to bed feeling like nothing really moved forward. But productivity? That's different. That's intentional. That's focused. That's rare. John Maxwell sharpens this distinction with the law of priorities. Leaders understand that activity is not necessarily accomplishment. You can be exhausted at the end of the day and still be miles away from what actually matters. You can be busy without being effective. And the best leaders don't just do more, they do what matters most. And they do it first. This law forces a hard but necessary question. What's essential to the mission? What's truly moving the needle? And what am I doing simply because it's always been done? Maxwell reminds us that leadership isn't just about being efficient. Efficiency is doing things well. But effectiveness? That's doing the right things well. And that requires clarity, focus, the courage to say no to the distractions, even the good things, so you can say yes to the best things. And here's the hard truth. The most important things rarely scream for your attention. They don't buzz. They don't ping. They don't demand to be checked off a to-do list. They're quieter, like taking time for reflection, like carving out space for strategic thinking, like having the hard conversations that no one wants to have, like developing someone who could one day replace you, like planning for the long term instead of just reacting to the now. These things aren't urgent, but they are vital. And great leaders make time for them. They block out the noise. They create space to think, to plan, to mentor, to reflect. They protect that space fiercely. They don't get sucked into the chaos of urgency. They train their teams to do the same. Because when a leader is unclear about priorities, the entire team starts guessing. And when everyone's guessing, no one's aligned. Time gets wasted, energy gets scattered, results get diluted. So ask yourself, what am I doing right now that truly matters? What am I doing that just fills space? Am I leading my time, or is my time leading me? This law challenges you to stop wearing busy like a badge of honor and start treating your calendar like a leader, not as a prisoner to urgency, but as a steward of impact. Next, we're stepping into the law of sacrifice. This one is a game changer because every next level of leadership costs something, and the best leaders, they understand that the price is always worth paying. Stay close. Everybody wants to be a leader until they understand the cost. Because the higher you rise, the more you give up. Not in a way that drains you, but in a way that defines you. John Maxwell calls it the law of sacrifice. A leader must give up to go up. And here's the heart of it. Leadership isn't about power. It's not about status. It's not about being above others. It's about serving from the front. It's about being the first to step in, the first to say, "I'll go first," the first to sacrifice. Maxwell tells the story of a military leader who, when food was scarce, made sure his soldiers ate first, even as he himself went hungry. Because he knew that real leadership isn't about privilege. It's about responsibility. It's about setting the tone through what you're willing to give, not what you're trying to get. And here's what most people miss. Every new level of leadership demands something more from you. More time, more discipline, more humility, more willingness to let go of what got you here so you can become the person you need to be to go there. And the higher you go, the more it costs. At first, it's your comfort. Then it's your ego. Eventually, it's the need to always be right, to always be seen, to always have your way. Because as a leader, your life is no longer just about you. You carry people with you now. Your choices ripple out. Your sacrifices set the standard. So, the question becomes, what am I willing to let go of so I can rise higher? What comfort am I clinging to that's keeping me small? What old ways of thinking, leading, living do I need to sacrifice to step into the next level? Because leadership is a ladder, not a throne. And every new rung asks you to lay something down. Not to lose it, but to make space for what's next. Next, we're diving into the law of timing. And this one's a game changer because great leaders don't just know what to do, they know when to do it. Stay with me. You could have the perfect plan. A strategy so sharp it cuts through confusion. A vision so vivid it lights up a room. But if you move too soon, you lose people. Move too late and the moment slips away. That's the essence of the law of timing. When to lead is just as important as what to do and where to go. John Maxwell puts it simply, timing is everything in leadership, because you can say the right words at the wrong time, and they fall flat. You can make the right decision at the wrong time, and it backfires. You can cast a perfect vision before people are ready, and they won't follow. Leadership isn't just about reading people. It's about reading the moment. It's about sensing when the team needs to push forward and when they need to rest, when they need a challenge and when they need comfort, when they need clarity and when they need space. And here's what makes it tricky. Timing isn't just about logic. It's about intuition. It's about feeling the pulse of the room, the team, the culture. It's about listening for what's not being said, watching for the subtle cues, the body language, the tension, the silence. Because sometimes the best move is to wait, to let things breathe, to allow people to catch up emotionally, mentally, spiritually, to let the ground settle before making the next step. And other times, you move fast, you strike while the iron is hot. You act before fear sets in. You seize the moment while the energy is still high. The challenge is knowing the difference. Maxwell tells us that great leaders don't just plan their actions, they time them. They anticipate the moment, they read the room, they sense when the team is ready to rise, and when pushing harder would break them. Because leadership isn't just about knowing what to do, it's about knowing when to do it. So ask yourself, where am I rushing when I need to slow down? Where am I holding back when I need to step forward? What does this moment call for? Not just for me, but for the people I lead. Because leadership is a dance. And timing? That's the rhythm. It's the beat that keeps everything moving in sync. Up next, we're diving into the law of explosive growth. And in this one, we'll uncover why great leaders don't just focus on growing themselves. They focus on multiplying leaders around them. Stay close. Most people think leadership is about how far you can go, how high you can rise, how much you can achieve on your own. But John Maxwell flips that perspective with a simple yet powerful truth. Leaders who focus on personal growth add value to themselves. Leaders who focus on multiplying other leaders create explosive growth. This is the law of explosive growth. Because at some point, your capacity hits a ceiling. You only have so many hours in a day. You only have so much energy. You only have so much reach. No matter how skilled, driven, or relentless you are, there's a limit to what you can do alone. But when you stop trying to be the hero, when you shift your focus from adding followers to creating leaders, everything changes. You multiply your impact. You expand your influence. You create a ripple effect that moves through people you may never even meet. Maxwell says this is the difference between leaders who just want followers and leaders who build other leaders. Followers add to what you're doing, but leaders multiply it. They take the vision and run with it. They make decisions without needing you to sign off. They become extensions of the mission, not because you told them to, but because they believe in it. But here's the part most people miss. Multiplying leaders requires you to let go. You have to release control. You have to trust others to step up. You have to let them make mistakes and learn through them. You have to step back, not because you don't care, but because you want them to feel ownership. That's how explosive growth happens. Not by holding on tighter, but by giving more away. And here's the kicker. If you're the smartest person in every room, you're in the wrong room. You need people around you who are better than you in areas where you're weak. People who see things differently, think differently, and challenge you in ways you can't see yourself. Because true leaders aren't threatened by other people's strengths. They're energized by them. They're excited to see others rise because they know that every leader they lift creates more capacity, more reach, more impact. So the question isn't how much can I do, it's how many leaders can I empower? How many people can I invest in so deeply that they no longer need me to lead them? How many legacies can I build, not through my own accomplishments, but through the leaders I lift? Because the measure of your leadership isn't how much you can do, it's how much you can create through others. Up next, we're diving into the final law, the law of legacy. And this one is the heart of everything we've covered, because the true measure of leadership isn't what you achieve while you're here, it's what you leave behind when you're gone. Stay with me. You spend your life building something, day after day, brick by brick. You pour your time, your energy, your heart into it. You sacrifice sleep, you skip meals, you stay late, you go all in. But one day your time runs out. The meetings end, the emails stop, the world keeps moving without you. And the only question that truly matters is this. Did what you build keep going? Did who you were keep growing through others? That's the essence of the law of legacy. John Maxwell puts it simply, a leader's lasting value is measured by succession. Not by what you achieved, not by how powerful you became, not by how many people knew your name, but by what you left behind that keeps living, breathing, and thriving after you're gone. Because the truth is, leadership isn't about what you can do. It's about who you empower to do it when you're no longer there. Think about it. If you disappeared tomorrow, what would remain? A team that can't function without you? A vision that collapses without your presence? Or a culture of leaders who carry the mission forward because you built them up to stand on their own? Maxwell reminds us that legacy isn't something you think about when you're old. It's something you build every single day. Every conversation, every decision to lift others instead of lifting yourself. Every choice to give power away instead of hoarding it. And the greatest leaders don't just work hard. They work to replace themselves. They raise up successors. They pour into people who can step in when they step out. They let others shine, even when it means stepping out of the spotlight. Because they understand that their work was never about them. It was about what would remain when they were no longer there to guide it. And that's the real unfiltered truth of legacy. It's not measured by the size of your bank account, or the number of followers you have, or how many people remember your name. Legacy is measured by the people who rise up because of what you poured into them, by the leaders who lead because you believed in them, by the lives that are better because you were here. So ask yourself honestly, what am I building that will outlast me? Who am I pouring into that will carry the torch? What would people say if I were gone tomorrow? Because leadership isn't about climbing to the top. It's about building a ladder for others to climb higher. That's legacy. That's what remains. That's what matters. And as you close this book, remember this. You don't leave a legacy someday. You leave it now, in the small moments, the unseen acts, the people you lift, the seeds you plant. Every decision, every interaction, every choice to lead with intention, it's all part of the legacy you're creating right now. If this video resonated with you, if it stirred something inside you, take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to Bix Book Summary. Let me know what part hit you the hardest, what law you're going to implement first, or how you plan to live and lead with purpose. And if you're ready to dive deeper into these powerful laws and discover how they can transform not just your leadership, but your life, the link to the book is waiting for you in the description below. Grab it, read it, live it. Because your legacy isn't something you wait to build someday. It's something you're creating every single day. Until next time, I'm Bix. Stay intentional, stay grounded, and keep building something that lasts. See you in the next one.